Hello, Arsenal fans, and welcome back to a new episode of Can You Believe It, an Arsenal podcast. And it's been a very quiet week in the Arsenal world. Who am I kidding? It's all gone up in flames. So, what can we do about this? There is not a single day when there's not a new nonsense at this football club, and I'm sick and tired of it. But I am joined by Wayne again. So, welcome back, Wayne.
I'd ask you how you're doing, but I think it's the same for all Arsenal fans right now.
Yeah, I mean, how am I doing? Well, we'll get to that. But no, but we also have a lovely special guest. So we are joined by Rohan, who is a writer for Football London, Arsenal Review, Gunners Town. You've probably seen him on various Twitter Spaces and writing excellent tactical reviews. So welcome, Rohan, to the podcast.
Oh, no, it really means a lot for asking me. I love coming on like different channels and just interacting with different people. So yeah, this is another really good one to kind of talk to the Arsenal audience.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll be really eager to hear your views about everything that has happened. So we can't not talk about what's happened today. So obviously, if you have been living under a rock in Arsenal fandom, let's update you. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been stripped of the Arsenal captaincy. Now, this sort of shocked me, even if I think for most people it wasn't shocking, because it was just like, I understood the disciplinary action, but I didn't really think that it would go all the way into him actually being stripped of the captaincy mid-season. I thought they would just review it at the end of the season. And obviously, it caused a lot of discussion on Twitter and on social media, as you would expect. So, Rohan, I'll ask you first. What were your initial thoughts about Aubameyang losing the captaincy? Do you think it was right or wrong? Just give me your views on it.
Do you know what? It's definitely an interesting topic because initially, when we heard Mikel talk about the situation on Saturday before the game, it felt like it was something quite severe that Aubameyang did, hence why he dropped him completely from the squad. But obviously now it's came out and he stripped him of the captaincy. It was reported that he came back. I think he came back early in terms of training, but I think he needed to do a PCR test or something. I think it was. But with him being stripped of captaincy, it's definitely something a lot deeper, I think. And reports have now came out saying that it's now 4 breaches that Aubameyang has had. I think as a club, you have to set standards, and everyone has to kind of fill that criteria. If you overstep the line, then you have to face disciplinary action. And clearly, Arteta thinks that it's the right thing to do to strip him of the captaincy. Me personally, I'm not a fan of drama. I personally don't want to hear these kind of things coming through the media. But at the same time, had Mikel not have spoke about it, the speculation and the reports would have came out anyway. So then it's a very difficult situation for him. So yeah, it's definitely something that we don't need because we've got a massive game tomorrow against West Ham. But obviously, he feels that he's given the player a lot of chances. I think, like I said, it's fourth disciplinary breach. So that's what he's gone with, and I guess we've just got to take it how it is now.
Yeah, like I think it's a really difficult situation to sort of be on both sides, because I think if Arteta didn't come out and get ahead of it, then he's seen as not controlling the dressing room, but because he has come out and said the sort of view is that his man management skills are poor. And to be honest, I think there is some sort of like recognition for that. I think sometimes his man management isn't the best, but I think for this situation, I don't think it's massively his fault. Aubameyang is the one who done the wrongdoings. He's the one who should get punished. Arteta shouldn't really be criticised too much. He's got to run a football club at the end of the day, and obviously coach players. And if he feels that this player is troublesome, then he's got to deal with him accordingly. So, and I think that's what's happened. So, Wayne, what are your thoughts about the whole situation?
I don't necessarily like the way it's played out. And while I'm not 100% behind Mikel Arteta in terms of what he's getting from us on the pitch, I 100% support this decision and the way that he's gone with it, simply because I think the first time that it happened, North London Derby, the Arsenal fan base were rightly in uproar about it. That's our biggest game of the season, and you're caught in a traffic jam in a Lamborghini, nowhere sort of near the stadium. What was it, about half an hour before kickoff or something like that? You kind of got away. You kind of got away with that one, and then we've given you time when you were going through your family issues before, rightly so. Support him wholeheartedly with everything that he needed them. We then supported you with the malaria stuff, and again, we were 100% right to do so, and hopefully he's still now fully recovered and there's no sort of lasting effects with that. But you're now starting to go over the line a couple of times too many, and we've given you permission. We're living in a different world now. You can't just go off to France and come back as if everything is normal. It's completely different times. You have to follow different procedures now, and we've given you the courtesy of you're still going through sort of some family stuff. You want to go see your mum, you want to go sort that out. 100%, you should be allowed to go. You're basically a free citizen. Do whatever you want. But this is what we need you to do. We need you to be back at this time by this date, etc., etc., etc. You need to pass this test, and you've not done it. And it doesn't matter whether you were back at training on time. If you haven't got back and done what you needed to do before training, you arriving at training is completely irrelevant to me. And I think the big thing for me is the Arsenal fan base in general have criticised Mikel Arteta for similar situations like this. So I'm thinking about the Willian one when he went off to Dubai and there wasn't really any disciplinary action, and Mikel Arteta said, well, it was being dealt with behind closed doors.
Yeah.
The Arsenal fan base were unhappy with that and said, well, there should have been disciplinary action. We should have been told about it. And this is basically what we wanted you to do. So this time there's a similar situation. Fair enough, Aubameyang's not going out to restaurants and partying or whatever, but you've still left the country and you've still not come back and followed the correct protocols. Mikel Arteta has now done everything that we as a fan base, or a lot of the fan base, wanted you to do, and the Arsenal fan base is still unhappy with that. It reminded me of when Pepe got sent off against Leeds. People weren't happy with Mikel Arteta then with his reaction. Me personally, I didn't mind because it was a dumb sending off and I thought you needed to be made an example of. But the next time there was a dumb sending off, I don't know if it was David Luiz or Granit Xhaka, it was someone that same season, probably a few weeks later, people were unhappy that Mikel Arteta had learned that lesson and didn't air out the dirty laundry the same way that he did from Pepe, when everyone was unhappy that was how he reacted against Pepe. So to me, he's showing signs of not necessarily growth, because there are still a lot of questions about his man management, but he's learning from similar examples that the Arsenal fan base in particular, and I'm not saying he's doing it to appease us or because Arsenal fans have said anything in particular, but he's learning from situations that he's arguably handled badly, and now he's doing it the correct way that probably should have been done in the first place. So I wholeheartedly support that. Aubameyang, if now, I think the key thing from today's press conference was that Mikel Arteta said, what was it, multiple transgressions or something like that. He gave like a key word that made it clear it was not just one issue that he was being stripped of captaincy for. Arsenal fans wanted Aubameyang stripped of captaincy for missing the Tottenham game, but now it's not okay to strip him of captaincy when he's done something similar. So I think it's the right decision. I don't like how it's played out, but at the end of the day, if you've got a player that's kind of forcing your hand, there's nothing really more we could do about it.
Yeah, and just to quote the Mikel Arteta thing that you said, he basically was asked about the captaincy decision. He said, "I don't have much more to say. I think it's a real clear statement from the club. It's a decision we have made following the last incident that we had with the players, and this is where we stand." So the key word there is last. So it's not first, it's last. So there's multiple times, and this is the straw that broke the camel's back, as you said. And also talking about the Willian thing, I'm glad you brought it up. There's a really good thread from Dan Critchlow who does brilliant threads on Twitter anyway, who's basically compared the Willian and Aubameyang situation, and Willian was fined by the club and was reminded the same duties, but at the same time Aubameyang missed a pre-Europa League trip COVID test and he was also fined. So it's not like it's not. I think a lot of Arsenal fans just assumed, oh, it was two situations because they were the most public situations that have happened, and that's it. He's been stripped of the captaincy. He's not in the squad anymore. But it's clear that there have been multiple incidents that have really affected the team, and obviously there are reports from the Athletic that the team are sort of divided by this and said that they didn't really like Aubameyang's actions, which is it. And ultimately, that's the most important thing for me. Is it's not how we feel, it's not how Mikel Arteta feels, it's how the players feel. If the players are backing Mikel Arteta's decision, I do not care. I do not have a problem. It doesn't matter who's captain. But if the players now, like say they lose to West Ham and then they turn on him and they say, oh, that was a horrible decision, we want our talisman back, that's where I have an issue with it, because the players are clearly not behind your decision. But because the reports at the moment, and obviously we'll see how it goes in terms of performances and results, seem to be behind this decision, then I am too, because ultimately that's the most important thing. The players are still behind the manager. Once the players are not behind the manager, that's where it gets a bit tricky.
Just using your example, let me ask you then, what would you not be happy with? If, let's say, the players wanted Aubameyang back and supported Aubameyang, would you be unhappy with the fact that Arteta made this decision? Or, because if that's me, I'm unhappy with the players having that reaction. At the end of the day, I appreciate that players have majority of the control here, but you play for Arsenal, you don't play for Aubameyang. If you have an issue with a person who has stepped out of line, stepped past sort of certain disciplines more than one occasion, and you're siding with that, that's not the sort of player I want at my club.
No, you are right, and ultimately, what Aubameyang did was wrong, and obviously it's happened multiple times. I guess my thing is you can create culture at a club, but if the players are not behind that culture, then you can be seen as someone who's a bit toxic. And there's no indication that Arteta is toxic at the moment, because the players seem to be fully behind him. But and seem to be, I mean, I think Saka and Tierney have both called him geniuses over the coming months, and that's the most important thing to me. If they back the manager, then that they know more than what we do, because we only see like a small percentage of what happens at that football club. So, but yeah, I think if they thought Aubameyang was being treated wrongly, which I don't think they do, then that's where I would have an issue, but I don't think they do. I think they back the manager in this instance, and that's what you want. Is you want the players on side with any decision that the manager's going to take.
To the centre, Schuker is there. Can't get his cross in. Maybe Dixon can.